It is interesting, listening to the Prime Minister's words at Prime Minister's questions, and then afterwards, when we heard the Prime Minister's spokesman be sort of interrogated on this, they weren't giving much away.
No, and as you say, Tom, we had quite a lengthy discussion, didn't we, a group of journalists after the PMQ session there, to try and get to the bottom of what this tough talking actually meant. And there wasn't really much detail they could give us. But I spent the afternoon ringing around people in government to try and find out a bit more, see where we could get to on this. And actually, what they're certainly doing is looking at all options. Everything's on the table. They use all these phrases. We want to keep a few things in our back pocket in case the unions continue to ramp this up. And what that potentially could mean is that they impose some kind of extension of the measures they're planning for the rail unions onto emergency service workers, such as ambulance workers, who we know are obviously going out on strike later this month. And it was described to me as, if you're going to stop ambulance workers from going on strike, it would seem odd that the ambulances have to take patients to hospitals where nurses could then be on strike. So, you know, if you're going to ban ambulance workers from going on strike, then you've got to kind of ban the people working in the hospitals as well. It doesn't make sense to do one or the other. But I think the reality of this is actually we are a long way from this actually being imposed. It will take a long time to kind of get legislation going. And I think actually the government would rather the unions kind of gave a little bit in the way of compromise, so they weren't kind of having to go down this road.
Yes, I wonder to what extent this might be a bit of an empty threat, perhaps, a bit of a quid pro quo, saying, if you don't withdraw this sort of strike activity, then we will legislate. Because I don't think legislation could actually happen until next year in terms of that parliamentary timetable.
Exactly, and we don't want a whole year of this level of strike action, do we, as a nation? It's going to cause us massive problems. So I think there is a little bit of kind of empty threat about it. But certainly they are looking at ways to kind of get to... And also what you're seeing from government, I was quite struck yesterday by the messages you're getting from people within government, and they are kind of pitching this kind of one worker against another. So you see these kind of parallels between soldiers who are going to be drafted in. The Border Force announced they're going out on strike for 8 days over Christmas, which will affect airports. And so you're going to see soldiers potentially drafted in to cover that 8-day period. And so people in government were saying to me, look, this is not fair. This is why should the squaddies be forced to give up their Christmases to cover the work of other people? And squaddies, of course, can't go out on strike, and they are only getting 3.75% paid this year, and there's nothing they can do about it. And so they're kind of drawing these parallels between it's not fair for our armed forces to have to kind of pick up the slack here when other public sector workers are taking Christmas off on strike.
Yeah, really, really profound consequences for people up and down the country. But moving on now, let's look more introspectively in Westminster, because there have been two remarkable stories about one Conservative MP and one Labour MP over the last 24 hours. Julian Knight, the Conservative MP for Solihull, has had the whip suspended, and indeed Conor McGinn, the Labour MP, has also found the whip suspended from him. Do we know any details as to what's going on here?
Yeah, I think this is the first step that parties take once allegations are made. Although actually, in the case of Julian Knight, it has actually taken them a week or so to take this decision as a party. Obviously, certain allegations have been made about the behaviour of both these men in different parties, and obviously, I wouldn't want to kind of speculate on the ins and outs of that, because until the investigations are carried out, it seems unfair to me on everyone involved to kind of speculate on that. But what I would just point out is, I just checked before I came on air, Tom, and we now have 14 independent MPs. It's one more than the number of 15 independent MPs, one more than the number of Lib Dem MPs. There are more people sitting as an independent now than there are as Lib Dems, and that is for a whole range of bad behaviour. Some of it involving allegations about sexual misconduct, allegations about bullying. There's a whole range of kind of reprobate's corner, really, if you will, there in Parliament, and it's quite a big group now. And it doesn't reflect well on Parliament, and this spans across all parties. It's not certainly not limited to the Conservatives, but it doesn't reflect well on Parliament as a whole when you've got so many people facing allegations of serious natures.
It is interesting. This does seem to me to be the first time that the Conservative Party under Rishi Sunak has proactively taken the whip away from a Member of Parliament. Beforehand, of course, we saw different levels of oh, no, I suppose Matt Hancock had the whip proactively taken away from him, obviously for different reasons. But of course, when it came to people like Gavin Williamson, the whip was taken off himself. I wonder, are we seeing the Conservative Party getting tougher now, perhaps? Is it wanting to lean in more to this sort of tough reputation? The Labour Party, too, I suppose, acting swiftly with regard to those allegations.
Yeah, it's always very difficult, isn't it? Because for a party, well, you know, parties are like any kind of band of people where you try and naturally kind of stick together, don't you? But obviously, when allegations of a serious nature come along, you have to act, because otherwise, it's just that, you know, the public will be appalled if people are protecting people who've done terrible things. But on the kind of more political side of it, the Gavin Williamsons, Matt Hancocks, all that kind of thing, I think there is a reluctance to throw the other side a scalp, if you will. So they don't really want to have to kind of withdraw the whip for things they don't have to. It kind of plays into the other side's hands, really. And certainly when you're a new government, you know, Rishi Sunak, I mean, he's only been in post, matter of weeks, really, and already we've seen a number of people lose the whip. It's not a great place for a Prime Minister to be. And you are stuck in that thing of obviously not wanting to give the other side a win, but also wanting to look tough. So you can be a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't, really, on some of these decisions.
And I suppose through all of it, we must remember innocent until proven guilty, but
Indeed.
Clearly looking at 15 independent members of Parliament now. This is really quite, in recent times at least, unprecedented.